Yellow literary luminaries, and welcome to the Literary Canon, where we examine film inspired by literature and try to determine whether it has the literary merit of the original. This first video is to serve as a brief introduction. It'll allow me to do two things. One, introduce myself, and two, play around with all the fancy video editing equipment I have decided to invest in. Everything is free. I also use a headset. So if there is some mic pops, I apologize. In order to make these films. So let's start off with introductions. I'm Mr. B. I teach advanced placement English literature by day, and by night I'm a film and video game enthusiast. For years, my students have said I've enjoyed exploring their favorite moments of childhood and film and literature, and I'm hoping to do that here with you. The first main project I have planned is a battle of the Romeo and Juliets, Zeffirelli versus Larriman. That's a little bit big to begin with. So I decided to start small, trailer small. Our origin story will start with Stephen King's trailer for the 2017 It, released this week. This movie looks terrifying. I'm scared of spiders, even though my family always makes me go and catch them. I'm also scared of clowns, ever since I was chased by a drunk carny one time. And this movie looks to blend both of those things into the nightmarish spider clown. Now, all you It enthusiasts, I don't want you to get all technical on me and say something like, well, the spider is actually the only thing that the human brain can recognize of the multidimensional being that is the creature that is it. It's a spider clown. That's all there is to it. Now, our antagonist is It, also known as Pennywise the Dancing Clown. This mysterious being from an unknown dimension outside some realm of space known as the Macroverse, which is actually something really cool that Stephen King has done and most recently was referenced in The Dark Tower, is a spider clown that has the ability to morph into anything it chooses based upon its victim. Preferring to feast on children, although not really particular, It is a nameless evil. It's a creature that wakes up, feasts, and then goes back to sleep. It's a cycle that's been going on for many
so much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new one.
Many years. Its list of abilities is rather impressive. We know the obvious shape-shifting, its ability to turn itself into any nightmare that a child could possibly fear. It has the ability to create illusions. It has partial invisibility. It can regenerate. It has telepathy. It can brainwash or mind control people. It can teleport. It can kill plants. It's got telekinesis. Hey, it can even control the weather. Now, this adaptation is an update of the 1990s miniseries. One of the scariest things I ever saw as a child came from this show.
I didn't hear that. I didn't.
I beg your pardon?
Come on up, Richie. I got a balloon for you. Don't you want a balloon? What's the matter? One balloon, not enough. Try on!
The 1990 miniseries was a balance between both the terrifying
Ben! Hi, Ben!
Daddy?
You want a balloon, Ben? They float.
They all float.
and the comedic.
Steve, sorry I'm late. Well, let's see who's here. Billy Boy. Richie, you still here? We never expected you to stick around. Nice nose job. No one would ever suspect.
Bill Skarsgård looks to be a more frightening version of Pennywise the Clown, without the humor of Tim Curry. Now, that's not saying there aren't going to be moments of comedy in this film, although I think they're going to be more unintentionally comedic. Like this photo. Take a look. Wait for it. You'll see it in a minute. But enough of all this preamble. It's time we get on with the trailer.
When you're a kid.
Pause. This is kind of how I do things. I'll stop the trailer as it goes along. I'll talk a little bit and resume the trailer. Hopefully it doesn't make the viewing too disjointed. If it does, feel free to watch the trailer in its entirety and return here to see the analysis interspersed.
You think the universe revolves around you. You think that you'll always be protected and cared for. Then, one day, you realize that's not true.
The trailer opens with what appears to be Stan's bat mitzvah speech, talking about childhood and the painful experiences of growing up. This is the first of many descents depicted in the trailer, and likely that will be depicted throughout the film. This journey from up to down is going to parallel the journey that these children are going to make, from the world of light to the world of dark. Much like Joseph Campbell's Hero Quest, everyone has to journey into the dark to battle the monster that lives there.
Around you. You think that you'll always be protected and cared.
This is the first appearance of the Losers Club. It's significant that their name is self-selected, much like Piggy chooses his name in Lord of the Flies, which depressingly lets the reader know how he's internalized all his abuse. This group defines itself by the adversity they have experienced. The V is an interesting choice here. It could be an allusion to the V from Churchill's V for Victory speech, foreshadowing the children's eventual success over Pennywise. It is also reminiscent of the V for Vendetta, and so could also be a symbol of the group's rebellion against overwhelming and controlling forces. Finally, it could be a pop culture allusion to the miniseries V, where aliens disguised as humans invade the planet in order to feast upon humankind. This is an interesting parallel to the plot of It.
Then, one day, you realize that's not true.
I really like this little balloon next to the Warner Brothers sign. The balloon is an obvious symbol in the film, and often balloons function as a dual archetype. On one hand, it is representative of childhood freedom and the innocence that is associated with it. But like the balloon, this innocence is fragile and can burst or become lost at any time. The balloon is often used as a symbol of death, as it, like the soul, can ascend to heaven. In the first modern serial killer film, M, little Elsie Beckman leaves school, bouncing a ball on her way home. She is approached by the serial killer, and he offers to buy her a balloon from a blind street vendor. He then talks with her, and they walk away. Elsie's place at the dinner table remains empty. Her ball is shown rolling away across a patch of grass, and her balloon is lost in the telephone lines overhead. In the movie It, we also have a serial killer, and although I can't be certain that the balloons in this film pay homage to the movie M, it's a nice thought. Also, the color red is significant, as red is the color of extremes. It's a primal color, a color of fire and blood, and so it has powerful and violent associations. This seems to parallel the content of It.
Because when you're alone as a kid?
Water in literature is archetypally representative of life. So Georgie's boat, the SS Georgie, is traveling through life, floating along its current. The boat is a symbol of discovery, venturing into new worlds. It is particularly disturbing the way that Pennywise emphasizes the word it, like it's giving us his real name. However, these journeys are not always benign and can instead be frightening and dangerous. Georgie's ship sinks, which foreshadows his demise. However, the vessel is built by his brother Billy. Billy is the captain of this ragtag group, who will eventually journey into Pennywise's realm.
You don't even know they're getting closer.
Here we see Henry, the physical manifestation of the pain in the lives of the children. He does in public what is happening in the lives of the children in private. The balloon in the rear of the car shows how the adults in the community are under the control of the monster It, oblivious to what is really happening, like they are oblivious to Henry's abuse. As such, the monster It is really a symbol of the community's suppressed darkness. While there is literally a monster hunting down children, there are hidden monsters in the homes of these children. The Losers Club go through childhood trauma at the hands of others. Some are abused, and others are stigmatized. This is our first view of the creature, and I find his appearance much more frightening than in the original miniseries. The director wanted to give this new It larger eyes and apple cheeks, which results in a more childlike appearance. This juxtaposition between the monstrous, innocent look with its Victorian-inspired outfit makes the creature appear like a China doll clown, which is in stark contrast to its true monstrous nature. This is unsettling for audiences and works very well in films like Chucky or even another Stephen King film, Pet Sematary. A fun fact, the director also wanted Pennywise's eyes to go in different directions, and Bill does have the ability to make a lazy eye point in an opposing way with its mate. As you know, eyes are important. They are the windows to our soul, after all, and the director's intentional decision to have his monster with imperfect eyes shows not only the monster's distorted view of the world, but also how it's a true distortion of what is right and natural.
My grandfather thinks this town is cursed. That all the bad things that happen in this town are because of one thing. An evil thing.
Fact number 2. In the wake of Georgie's disappearance, his grieving brother Bill is haunted by violent nightmares of Pennywise. Interestingly, the actor that played the dancing clown suffered from nightmares for weeks after his portrayal. He was haunted by the monster that he played. Pennywise is the personification of each child's greatest fear. The book says that the fear is what tenderizes the meat. He takes a variety of different forms in the miniseries and book, and it'll be interesting to see what he chooses to take with this more modern adaptation.
I saw something.
The clown. Yeah, I saw him too.
Jump scare! I think this film will be filled with many of these. I also think that for some audiences, it might not be what they would consider scary. This is due to the fact that recent horror movies have shifted away from the psychological horror found in the early 80s and 90s. Films like Silence of the Lambs, which relied upon the terror induced by frightening antagonists. More recently, we have films like Saw, which tend to rely on violence, gore, and special effects to repulse more than terrify.
What happens when another Georgie goes missing?
What exactly are you hoping to do with that knife? You're fighting a terrifying monster. That, I think, is going to be wholly inadequate.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
Or one of us.
In several scenes, the Losers Club is going to have to wade through disgusting water. The monstrous It also has a habit of appearing out of this brackish liquid, and although water is normally a positive symbol in literature, in the case of this film, it is going to be the antithesis, a place where gross things rise instead of the typical cleansing nature that water has in film. Also, this film is going to be frequently set in a bathroom, in sewers, and pipes. In The Pervert's Guide to Cinema, the bathroom is described as a kind of threshold symbolically. When we flush or rinse something down the pipes, we banish that material to a kind of unimaginable netherworld. The invisibility of this world is what makes our homes safe, livable. No one wants to think about what lies below. Consider the urban legend of the alligator flushed down the toilet, which grows into a monstrous beast. We even see it in films like Ghoulies, where a monster bites a helpless victim on the bum. Under our homes, something evil lurks, and when it threatens to come back up the pipes, that is the true horror. It also often requires a rug doctor. Ultimately, water in this film is going to symbolize a great and terrifying darkness, a place where all of the things that are dark and scary, all of the things that we do not understand, live.
Are you just gonna pretend it isn't happening like everyone else in this town?
These glowing eyes are likely a reference to the deadlights from the novel, which is the creature It's actual form.
If we stick together.
Alright, terrifying montage time. We're going to see a whole bunch of flash scenes. Let's see how much of what we predicted actually comes true.
We win.
Now is a time for an extended pause, where we talk about fruit. Pennywise's theme song is a rhyme titled Oranges and Lemons. Now, oranges are a symbol of death in literature. Just look at The Godfather. When he buys them, he is shot. When he eats one, he dies. But the actual nursery rhyme has a dark past. Some say it's rumored to be about the sacrifice of children. And although the rhyme itself is terrifying, with lines like, "Here comes a candle to light you to bed," and "Here comes a chopper to chop off your head, chip chop, the last man is dead." It is the game that I find super interesting with reference to this film. In the game, two children place their hands together to form an arch, and the other children pass under the arch in pairs as the song is sung. I find it interesting that this is a game that is completed as a group, much like the group competes against it. At the end of the rhyme, however, a pair of children is caught. They are symbolically beheaded. The song and dance is now repeated. It becomes harder for the remaining surviving children, as they now have more obstacles in the way. The process repeats until all the children have been beheaded. This is a game of increasing tension. It's a game of being pursued, and the ultimate punishment for losing this game is death. This seems to really fit the plot of It quite well. But probably most interesting is the rhyme's presence in George Orwell's 1984, and the repetition in the novel is a way of driving home Winston's chances of surviving the attentions of Big Brother. The more the rhyme is repeated, the smaller his chances, and so, in the novel, it becomes a symbol of increasing threat. Just like It is a symbol of threat, and violence, and death. Well, that's it for now. If you like what you saw, please smash that like button. Also, if you want to be updated when the Zeffirelli-Lehrman battle appears, please subscribe with notifications on. Please stay tuned for the post-show scene. I hope you like it. And finally, I'm also open to suggestions, so comment below and let me know what you would like to see next time. And who knows, maybe this will become popular enough that Google will buy me a Slurpee for my efforts. Again, thanks for joining me, and see you next time when the cannon takes aim at a different piece of text. Spider clowns!